welcome to this video on your Digital Makers Badge. I thought I'd make a little online video here to maybe help you along with this. My name's Anthony, or Ant for short, as everyone calls me. I've been making websites since about 1997. I made my first website at a university as part of my course there, and I kind of got hooked. These days, making websites is part of my job. I do it every day. I've made websites for all kinds of people, from small individuals, companies, musicians, all kinds of things. So I'm hoping this will help you to get you hooked on making digital content, and especially in this case, websites. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today and what we're going to be working our way through is for the Digital Makers Badge, although it says 1 on the screen, or actually this is a level 3 activity, about making your own website, or at least a couple of pages of a website. So the actual task we're working towards is, in a coding language of your choice, create a basic program to meet a need of the Scouts or your section. It will also take into account the activity to design and create digital graphics for use as of part of building your website. Now, as you're watching this online, I'm assuming you have internet access. We'll be using online coding tools as we go through this. You can do this offline too, and in fact, if you search for this activity on the Scouts website, you'll find how to do the offline version of this using programs on your computer without the need for internet access. Now, obviously, we're working online, so there are safety concerns and things you always need to look out for when you're working online at any time. Make sure you don't give away any personal information. Don't put any passwords or where you live, any pictures of your home, or any pictures of yourself even on this website. It can be about you, about what you like, to do with Scouts or to do with Cubs or Beavers, whatever level you're doing this at. So we're going to go through some basic stuff now, and I'll give you a little introduction first. But always remember, whatever we do here, you can always take it further at a later date. If you really enjoy this, you can expand on it. There's so much to learn. Making websites is such a lot of fun. And hopefully this will give you a nice little introduction to get you started. So one of the things you may not know is that the World Wide Web and the internet are actually two different things. The internet is the infrastructure. So that's the servers and the computers that form a big network that allow you to deliver the World Wide Web so you can look at it on your computers and your iPads at home. A guy called Tim Berners-Lee invented the internet whilst working at the Center for Nuclear Research. In 1989, originally there was no graphics. It wasn't very pretty. We can look at it here actually. So here's a simulator showing you what the internet would have looked like when you logged on back in 1989. It's moved on quite a bit from there, and nowadays we have graphics and animation and video and all these great things we can make really rich media interactive experiences with. So what we're going to do in this exercise is we're going to try and create our very first website using some very basic code. It won't look like this. It'll look much more interesting with a lot more graphics, and hopefully you'll be able to get the hang of it and even create web pages which you can use collectively as a group. So hopefully you've had a think about what you like about websites, maybe had a look at some that you think are really cool and others that you don't like so much, and made some decisions about why you don't like those websites and why you do like them. Are they graphically rich? Are they interesting? Do they have lots of cool pictures, lots of maybe sound or video on them? Or is it just more about the information, the content itself, and how useful that website is to you? So what we're going to make is a small website with a couple of pages that says a little bit about you, what you like about Scouts, Beavers or Cubs, depending on which level you're doing this at, and displays a few badges, maybe some of your favorite things, some of your favorite activities. So in the description of this video, you'll find some links to a starter website, which is from the Scouts and the Raspberry Pi Foundation. And if we open that up, you'll see that we've got, let's get rid of that. You'll see we've got here a thing called Trinket, which is an online coding platform which enables you to play around in this window over here and see your output, what's going on over here. So what we're looking at here is HTML. HTML, or hypertext markup language, is the basic language that pretty much all of the internet was written in. It forms the structure, and it allows you to create sections and pieces of your site, a bit like Lego, where you can put the bricks together. Each of the bricks is, for example, the head section here is one brick, and the body section is the main content. That's another brick. Then inside that, you've got all these little things called divs and div tags, which we'll go over in a minute, which are like other pieces of Lego, which you then put together to make whatever scene it is you're trying to create. And that scene comes out over here. And that's what you see when you look at a web page on the internet. So the way that your web page looks is defined by your style. And the style is in a format called cascading style sheets, CSS. So we're going to look at those two things: HTML, hypertext markup language, and CSS, or cascading style sheets. And together we'll be able to make a website that looks interactive and interesting, with pictures and text and graphics. So what we've got here at first is this is the heading. So this is this section over here. Headings are defined by these H tags, they're called. All of these little things are called tags. And there's loads of them, absolutely loads. If you want to see them all, you can go to the html.org website and you can look up all of the different tags. They're all HTML, so there's various ways to style things. One of the ways to style things is to use these predefined HTML tags. In this case, it's a heading. There are other ones for making text bold, or making text italic, or making a paragraph, which we'll use as well. And they have some predefined structure to them. So as you can see over here, a heading is quite large, and H1 is your biggest and most important heading. And H2, which is these little ones over here, is the next level down. So not quite as important, but still, when things like search engines like Google or Bing or Yahoo are looking through for these websites, they use these headings as an order of importance to try and work out what they should put in your search results when you search for something on Google, say. We're going to use the very basics of this. So we're going to use a couple of headings. We're going to use maybe a little italic, a little bold, maybe some underline, just to style things using basic HTML before we get onto the more interesting styling of the cascading style sheets. So one of the first things we're going to do in this H tag, we're going to get rid of this generic title. And over here, in between the two H tags, so H1 and H1, we're going to write in a title. Now remember, we want it to be relevant. We want people to know what they're reading and what they're looking at when they look at this page. And we're not going to use personal names. We're not going to use your real name. Maybe use some kind of pseudonym, some kind of code name or a nickname. So I'm going to put in here the interesting profile of Blackdown. Blackdown's one of my nicknames that I go by. And as you can see, what I've written here in this code editor has come out over here in a big heading text because it's an H1. It's the most important heading. And we're going to change what that looks like later using the CSS, but for now, that's great. I said we're going to use paragraph tags as well. So what we're going to do next is under our title, under here, under H1, we're going to make a new line. So we hit enter at the end of the line on your keyboards and type in open brackets like that. Oh no, P, close brackets, and it will autocomplete for you. So code editors are quite clever, and they'll understand what you're trying to do, and they'll also complete things for you. So you can see it's closed the tag for me. So the P, that's opening the tag for paragraph, and you see it's put /P, and that / shows that you're closing that paragraph. So we can type in there now. There we go. And you can see on the right hand side now that we have that all come out over here. You can write a paragraph in there now. If you take a bit of time, pause the video, try doing that heading, try doing that paragraph, adding that paragraph tag, and I'll see you in a couple of minutes.
A few moments later.
Okay, so some more things to know. Hopefully you've got a line of text in there now, or even a paragraph if you got carried away. What we'll do now is, if you'll see, let me show you something. If I hit enter here, you see that's gone down onto the next line, and I start typing again. I love being in the woods. Now, if we look at the right-hand side, apart from the fact that I can't spell, if we look at the right-hand side, you'll see that it hasn't actually gone down to the next line. It's still carried on, even though I put a carriage return and I pressed enter in here. We haven't gone down to the next line, we just carried on. That's because in code, there are no things called line breaks which make it go down to the next line, unless we actually put that in code. So if I wanted to go on to the next line here, I could either create a new paragraph, or if I just want to go on to the next line, here's another tag for you. Let me move that paper. I can open those brackets again. I can put BR space / close brackets. And you see what's happened on the right? It's gone down to the next line. And the BR stands for break. So there's another tag we're going to learn, break. So we put our line break in. Before we close that paragraph, I'm going to put a few things about me. I love being in the woods. I love riding. There's a little bit about me. So I've got my heading, got a little paragraph which introduces me. And then underneath that, we're going to have these two columns here, which are designated. You see div class column. We'll come on to divs next. But we're going to have two columns in there, which is going to have a bit of a list called an unordered list. And that's going to be down there, and it's going to show you maybe 4 or 5 things about what you like, activities you really enjoy in list form. And maybe one of those will link to a secondary page. And then in the other column, we're going to put some images showing some badges, some of the badges, the images of badges that go with those activities from the Scouts website. Okay, so let's do that. So let's go down here in the code. You can see this says column 1. So a div stands for a division. So it's a section, basically. There is another tag called section, but we'll stick with div. And div is kind of like one of those Lego brick containers within the site that we're putting together to make the whole picture. So in this case, we're going to make effectively a window on just the left-hand side of the page over here. And then we're going to make another one, and we've got another one down here in column 2, which is on the right-hand side of the page. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to change the titles in these columns to something more relevant. So over here, we're going to put the first column is going to be our list of your top 5 activities that you do, whether you're at Scouts, Beavers or Cubs. Activities, if I could spell, there we go, no, activities. And then over here in the second section, so if you come down the code here and look for column 2, and then look for the heading tag, H2, so the slightly smaller text, and we're going to put in here, what should we call it? We'll call it my badges. There you go, that's updated, great. Okay, so if we come down to line 17, just under your top 5 activities, we're going to add, I said earlier, an unordered list, but actually it's an ordered list according to the official Scouts documentation, so we'll stick with that so we don't get in trouble. So in order to do that, the difference is we'll open a new tag with the brackets that we've used before, the chevron brackets. They've probably got an official name, which I can't remember, I should know, but here we go. We're going to put OL for ordered list, and we're going to close it. So you see it's auto-completed, and it's given us that ordered closed bracket list at the end. So we hit enter, and it's doing our tabbing in for us as well. You'll notice, you see these little lines? Those little lines are just showing us 1 tab, 2 tabs, 3 tabs. It just keeps the code nice and neat. It should do it automatically for you in most code writing applications. And we're going to add a list, so an LI, so a list item. So you'll find that most HTML tags are fairly obvious. You know, if it's an ordered list, it's OL. If it's a list item, it's LI. It's just a case of there's lots of them and you have to learn a few of them. So these are some of the basics. The lists are one of the fundamental things about HTML that you'll use a lot. They form the basis of things like menus, standard lists, and all kinds of other things you can use them for. They're pretty useful. And you see we've created an ordered list and we put a list item in. And on the right-hand side here, what we've got is a 1 appear. So that's number 1 in our list. Now, HTML code has these things built in, which if you use them, they it'll automatically generate things. So it knows we're making an ordered list, and an ordered list needs something to be ordered by. So in this case, it's going to be numbers. So number 1 on our list can be, I'll just put in first item. And if we do enter again and we put in another li, close that bracket, it'll autocomplete, and we can put in second item. And you'll see we've got automatically it's done 1 and 2 because it knows it's doing a list. And as long as we keep writing li's inside the ordered list before we close it, it will keep adding numbers. Okay, so what we need to do now is put in some more relevant items over here in the activities. We don't want just like first item, second item. We want to put in some stuff, you know, what do you like doing? What are your top 5 activities? They don't specifically have to be things you do at Scouts, Cubs or Beavers. They can be just things you really like doing. It could be geocaching. It could be making digital content like this. It could be playing games, or, you know what it is you love doing. So put 5 of those things in about you that you really enjoy doing, and I'm going to do the same, and we'll come back to it in a few minutes.
More moments later.
Okay, so I've put in 5 things that I really enjoy doing. Hopefully you've done the same. You should have an li line for each. Make sure you close your tags, these /lis. And there we can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the right hand side under our top 5 activities, which is brilliant. Well done. What we need to do next is maybe get some badges that you may have earned, or some maybe you'd like to earn. It doesn't really matter. We're just going to put some images of badges in that right hand column. I've just spotted something, so this is probably a good time to remind you that you can always go back and change things after. So up here I've made a great lovely spelling mistake there, and I have 2 dogs, not 2 dogs. So I'm going to go up there and change that. You can always go change things afterwards. Entirely up to you. You're the programmer. Okay, so let's put some images in, our first images. So for this we're going to use another tag, one we haven't used before, called the image tag. It's shortened to IMG. I'll type it in a minute so you can see. It's very specific, so this is quite a long tag. It's much longer than one we've used before, and it really matters what kind of speech marks you use and where you put them, and if you put in extra spaces and things. All that stuff's important, so you got to be really careful when you're doing code to make sure that it's exactly right. Sometimes you spend hours searching through code just thinking, why isn't this working? And then you find that there's a space, or you've used the wrong kind of comma or bracket, and all of a sudden it all starts working. So let's go ahead and put in some images, and I'll show you how to grab those images from the Scouts website to put them into your own page. Okay, so first thing we need to do is we're going to find the right place. So we'll go down here, we'll look for column 2, which is this right hand one, My Badges. We've already named it My Badges. So under the H2 tag, just like we did before with the ordered list, this time we're going to open those brackets, and we are going to start with an image tag. An image tag is just 3 letters, IMG, for image. And it already starts to know what you want to talk about. Don't worry about this little red cross for now. It's because we haven't closed. It's trying to help us. It's telling us we haven't closed it. We know that. We're still typing it. So that's fine. But OMG, and then class. Classes we're going to come on to. Classes are names with which you can define style, so look and feel, which is going to be added to this tag later by the defined class. So we're going to put in here, we're going to open our speech brackets, the double ones, and we're going to type in photo. So we've put a class on there called photo, and everything we then write our CSS later in here, we're going to come in here and we're going to see there's a photo one. Whatever we put in there is then going to affect our style that we put in here. We'll come back to that later. Might be a bit confusing. Don't worry, you'll see. It's much easier when you actually try it for yourself and you see the visual results coming back. So let's carry on with our tag. Now we need to put source. So this is where it's going to come from. Where's this image come from? The computer has no way of knowing what you want. You have to tell it explicitly. So we're going to put src for source, it's a short version, equals, and then open those speech brackets. So you should be getting the idea now. This is kind of always going to be roughly how it is. And then we're going to put in between those brackets where that image lives on the internet. I'm going to show you now, once we finish this tag. So go to the end, / close. Now we've closed that tag and you'll see the little red cross has gone away because it knows it's all there that we need for it to work. So the next thing we're going to do now is going to go off to the Scouts website, and we're going to find some images of badges, and we're going to put them into ours. So in your browser, you want to open up a new tab if you haven't got one already. Let's get rid of this and pretend I haven't got one. Let's get rid of that one from earlier. So if you're using Chrome, you see a little plus, or quite often, pretty much, this. I'm on a Mac, so yours might be slightly different. Generally speaking, if you press Control and N or Apple and N, or Command and N, it'll open a new window. If you just press on the little plus in whatever browser you're using, it'll open a new tab, and that's what we want. So in here, I'm going to search for Scouts badges. Press enter, and there you go. It's giving me lots of Scouts badge search results. So I'm going to click on this first one, which is a Scouts activity badges, org UK. So it's the UK site. Make sure you go into the right place. And that will load up these Scouts activity badges. Right, so let's use this search here to search for the badges that it can be just your top 5 badges, or it can be the same badges that you put on your list on the left. That probably makes more sense, but in this instance we're just learning, so it's not really that important. Let's just search in here. Now I think I put mountain biking in, so I'm going to put biking. It's probably maybe under cycling. There we go, cyclist. So there's our cyclist badge. If I click on that, it'll take me there, and you see there's a picture of a badge up here. Now if I right click on that badge, if you're on a Mac, you command click or alt click, then it will bring up this list. And in this list, you might have some of these things, don't worry about it, but in this list you can go open image in a new tab, and that will open up this over here, and we can see just that cycling badge. So we know that this badge now lives here. This is where it is on the internet. This is the link we need to put in our image tag to make this appear on our website. We can get that by copying it from up here. If you're using a different browser, it doesn't look quite like this. You can right click the image. You can even do that over here, and the original badge, you can right click the image and say copy image address. Okay, once you've done that, it's copied it into your clipboard, so it's available. It doesn't matter, Mac or PC, you've still got a clipboard. It'll copy it into your clipboard and make it available for you to paste into your code. So we'll come back to our code page to change tabs, go back to our image tag, under source, I'm going to paste it in there. So I'll do it, I won't use a keyboard shortcut, so you can see I right click and say paste. And now you can see that it's updated. We put our code in and look, it's appeared. So we've got our cycling badge on the site. Great, might be a bit too big. We'll come back to that in a minute. That's going to be controlled by our styling, our CSS. But for now, that's brilliant. So we're going to go ahead and do the same thing for 5 badges, because we've got 5 things in our list. I'm going to try and find things that might suit all of my 5 top favorite activities. So if you go and do that, I'm going to do the same. We'll come back and we'll carry on. Pause the video, and we'll carry on once you've got 5 things in there. Just a quick note, one of the things you can do, it's good practice to type these things out and keep typing them out over and over, because it helps you remember them. But you can also highlight the text in the line you want, and then you can right click and copy, go down to the next line, right click and paste, and that will produce another badge. And then when you go over here to the site, we can go back to activity badges. We can search for what was in mine. What was my second one? We can search for interactive art. So I'm just going to search in here for art. Artist. Perfect. I'm going to right click on it just here. You see, we can't get the image link from here because this is all a link. It wants us to click it, so it's wrapped in a tag that tells us it's a link. So if we click it, then go through, now we can get the image tag from up here. Copy image address over here, and this time we're going to highlight the text that said about cycling, and we're going to paste in our text about art, and it will update. There you go, cycling and art. So you do that, or type it out ideally for each one. And if you're not happy with copying and pasting, you can type it out longhand too. That'll work. Copying and pasting is really useful though, and it'll certainly speed you up in the future.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Okay, so hopefully now you've got your 5 badges in that go roughly with your top 5 activities. I've chosen some that I think are relevant. What you can also see here is that they've gone a bit crazy. That one's massive. And then the others are all different sizes, and it all looks a bit of a mess, and then goes right over here. That's okay, we'll fix that next, because next we are going to look at cascading style sheets, or CSS. Okay, so back on our page over here. At the moment we're in index, so we're in the HTML. But in this next tab you see along here, we've got style So let's click on style.css. We had a quick look at it earlier. There you go. So this is the style sheet, a cascading style sheet. It's called cascading style sheet because it cascades down in a hierarchical fashion, which just basically means one thing more important than the next and the next. But we're going to be just pretty much keeping to a single level here, but we're going to do lots of different things. And all the way down here we can see the names or the classes of our different tags. Now there are classes and IDs and tag definitions. They're three different things, and we're not going to get too much into that, but it's worth knowing that they exist. So you see here body, that's a tag, and that relevance is here, line 6. So you can see we've got a body tag in our HTML. So this one, whatever's in the side of these curly brackets, that is what defines the style of everything that lives inside this body tag. And if I click on this little arrow, I can fold it up. So everything inside these two tags is going to be defined stylistically by the body definition here. Same goes for H1. H1 is a tag. So you see there's nothing in front of it. It just says H1. If we scroll down here, same thing. So H1, H2. Where's my H1? Up here. There you go. So it matches. Yeah. So there's the H1. Just hasn't got those chevrons. Now CSS always contains the definition inside curly brackets. So you're going to have lots of brackets and chevrons and straight brackets and box brackets and all kinds of things to learn. But for now, this is the one we need to learn, the curly bracket. So on your keyboard, you'll find that alongside the square brackets, which you need to press Shift to get the curly version. Now these ones with dots in front, that's called a class. I mentioned classes earlier when we were doing our index over here. And I said we'll put in class photo in all our images. Now that is getting the definition of its style from over here in the style sheet under photo. So that's a class defined by a dot. And what we don't have any of in here is an ID. So we won't worry about that for now. Basically the difference is an ID can be used for one thing on a page, and it's defined by a hash symbol or the pound symbol, depending on how you want to say it. And a dot, a class, can be used multiple times, so you can have lots of photos all using the same class definition. So let's get into this. So the first thing we'll do is we'll go into our styles CSS, and we won't worry too much about body for now. I want to have a quick look at the H1, which defines what our heading looks like. So I call them definitions. Officially they're called rules, so I'll try and stick to that. So our H1 rule is going to define what this part of our website looks like, our heading 1, our most important heading. So we can do things like text align. Some of these things are filled in for you here. We don't expect you to know all of these things. This is all new. So just use what's there already. Text align now. We're going to have a look. Text align. Now what could we do with a text align? We could change that to be so the text is aligned currently by default to the left. If we wanted it to be in the center, we type center, and you see over here, my text is popped into the center. So that's like if you've ever used Word or TextPad or anything to write text into a computer. It's the same as clicking the left, middle, right-hand side align buttons, but we're just typing it in. The color, H1 here, what's our color palette going to be? I quite like it to be red, I think, because we've got red around our badges. So a bit aggressive, but there we go. The interesting profile of that down in bright red. So the next one down is background, and the background is going to be the color of that text block. That can be anything you like. So let me try yellow. There we go. That's beautiful. Style master. So what else could we do here? Padding. Now padding is how much space there is around the top and bottom. It's defined in pixels, generally speaking. So I can say 10 pixels all the way around. Pixels is defined by a px. And you see it's put a little bit of space all the way around my words. I don't really like the yellow, but maybe we'll just change that to black so it's a little less offensive. There we go. So there we go. We've styled the heading. It's still the same size, but we've made it black. We've made a bit of space around it, and we put it in the middle. So why don't you pause the video and have a go at that yourself? You don't have to use black and red. You could try it with white and purple. So let's just do that. There's another example. Let's take my red out from here. I'm going to say the color, which is the color of my text. You see it's disappeared because it's black by default. The color of my text, I think I'm going to have it white. There we go. And I'm going to make my background purple because this is the Scouts after all, isn't it? Oh, I can't spell. So there you go. See, it didn't work, but that's because I spelt it wrong. So it's really important you get your spelling right. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is have a look at the body. The body, if you think of the body tag here, it's kind of the container. It wraps everything else up in the site, except for a few bits at the top, which generally only contain code, which we're not going to get into today. So within that background tag, within that body tag, there's a background. So that's your color, very much like it was when we did the text. So let's put lavender. And you can see, look, I've got a nice lavender background. It's looking very scouty. So padding, again, that's going to put effectively a frame, if you like, some space all the way around. So we make it 20 pixels. You see, it's made like a big padded border all the way around the edges. And then font family. Now, fonts you may have come across before. There are, oh God, hundreds of thousands of different fonts, if not millions. And there are some default ones like Arial's very popular, Helvetica, Serif. You know, these are all fonts. The way that the text is written on the screen, I can type in Arial, and you'll see it change on the right-hand side. So it's a different looking font. Or I can type in Serif, and again, it'll give me a different look. Or I can type in Helvetica. There we go. So we'll leave it at that. It's quite a nice looking font. Okay, so now we've got our web page in an interesting font with a different color background. We'll go ahead and see if we can sort out some other items. So photo is probably the most important one because look, we've got all these weird sizes. So the best thing we want to, the main thing we really want to do here is to make them all the same size. And now because we've all given them this photo class, remember we added image class equals photo. In our style sheet here, we can go into where it says photo and put in a maximum width. The maximum width, say, would be 150 in pixels again, 150 pixels. So you can experiment with this and see. And see, look, they've all just snapped down to be the same size. So maybe we can go even smaller. Let's make it 100. Yeah, look at that. Great. That's what we want. Looking much better. So I've got my cycling badge, my art badge, my artist badge, my entertainer's badge. This was fitness, I think. And this one is one of the aviator's badges. So that's actually looking like a really cool web page right now. You know, you've done a lot. Hopefully you've learned a lot. What you can do now is you can go through here if you like, and you can try editing any of these other things. Where it says type here, you can change any of those to be whatever you want. So if you want to change the background of the H2, so you could put that purple background in behind, or you make these purple, or put in the purple background. Maybe you put in a white box behind. You know, I don't like that, so I'm not going to do it. You can just take out a line if you're not using it by deleting it. Add a little padding maybe. Yeah, they're a bit close together, so let's do that. Let's add some padding around them. There you go, brings it nicely in line with the top. My text align, no, I'm quite liking them on the left hand side, so I'm gonna make them definitely stay there by typing in left. Oops, can't spell. Left. And what else? Margin. Do we need a margin? I'll show you what margin does. So again, we can put margins in pixels. We can put a 5 pixel margin in. Yeah, so that's tightened it up because obviously it was less than the default margin. Yeah, do I like that? Maybe not. You know, change it. Have a play. Yeah, that's quite nice. Doesn't look so good over here. So maybe we don't want that. Maybe we don't need to change the margin, or, you know, have a play around. See what you think looks good. It's up to you. You're the designer. So design it. Make it look how you want it to look.
Many minutes later.
Okay, so what I've done is I've made my badges a little bit smaller by changing my max width of photos to 70 pixels, just so they all fit on one line. Because what we're going to do now is put in a video under here, which I'll show you how to embed from YouTube. You can get it from anywhere. You can get the embed code, but I'll show you on YouTube because they make it quite easy for you. You've also got this item information here. So the item is defined in here. We look in here, we see we've got class item. So that's the container that contains this and that. So if we put in here, we put in a little 10, maybe 5 pixels of padding all the way around. It moves them in a little bit. margin bottom. Well, so margin bottom, we want a little bit of a gap here. So I'm going to put in quite a big margin, maybe 25 pixels. Because, oops, I can see I've got an E in there. Make sure we don't have any errors in our code. And that'll, you can't see it now, but that's put in a gap. I'm showing you on the screen, you can't see that. It's putting in a gap down here. And maybe, do we want a border around our boxes? I'm quite liking it, but let's try a border. So a border, we first define how fat we want the border to be in pixels. So I'm going to put in 2 pixels, then a space. Now, do I want it dotted, or do I want it dashed, or do I want it to be a solid line? So I'll show you solid. There you go. See, it's drawn a box. Don't love it. Maybe if we make it look a bit like stitching. So let's do dashed. There we go. So it's a bit more like stitches. And then if you put another space, you can put in a colour. So I can put in my purple in there again. And I'll have purple stitching all the way around the edge. Now this looks a bit of a mess. So maybe here we can add in something to clean that up a little bit. I'm not liking how they're too close together. A bit more spacing. Now, padding is kind of how much of a gap there is between the edge of the box and the content of the box. If we want to make a bit of space between the actual boxes themselves, so to move these 2 lines apart, we have to use a thing called margin. So I put in margin, colon, 10 pix. And there you go. Now it's separated my boxes out a bit. Got a nice bit of padding on the inside. And we're looking pretty neat. I might just, now we put it in boxes, I think I'm just going to make my headings here, my H2s. I'm going to align them into the center. Yeah, that's neater. That'll do. Now we'll put the video in. Okay, so I think what will be more interesting is instead of just putting the video down here in the bottom of the page, we're going to take it and put it in page 2. You see there's a page 2 here, which is totally blank. So this is your opportunity to show you've learned something by going through this and to make another page. Now, pages always have to have the same structure. So you need to use some of this structure. You need to define the document type, the fact that it's HTML, a header. So instead of worrying about all that right now, what I suggest you do is you right-click, select all on your existing page, copy, go over to page 2, and paste it in there. That'll give you the starting point, which is exactly the same as our index page, which is the first page that always loads on a website, and give you an area to work in. So what we're going to do in this area is we're going to put in a video. Basically, we're going to embed a video from YouTube. So what I want you to do now is to edit this code using all the skills you've just learned from writing it in the first place into a list of actions in order to teach this new activity that you're going to show somebody. And then we're going to remove the badges from the right-hand side, and we're going to change that to an instructional video, which we're going to find on YouTube. So if you go ahead and change the title, the big title, where I've got my profile title, so I'm going to change that to, how to play guitar, for example. Bit of a big subject for 5 topics, but let's go ahead and do whatever you want to do here, and we'll come back in a minute and we'll find a video.
1 eternity later.
Okay, so hopefully now you've got your title changed, you've got a new descriptive paragraph, and you've got some lines of things to learn, actions that you need to learn to do whatever it is you're trying to teach with your page. In my case, it's how to play the guitar. The very first basic steps, I've put in things to learn the parts of the guitar, tune your guitar, where to put your fingers, how to strum a guitar, and how to pick the strings. Seems some pretty basic stuff, but we're going to put in a video on the right hand side from somebody on YouTube, which will go through some of these things. Nice interactive page. Okay, so what we need to do now in order to get our video into our page is to get rid of the things that we've got there that we don't need. So at the moment we've got my badges here. It's not going to be the case. It's going to be changed in that side of the page to informative video. You can call it whatever you like. And then we don't need any of these right now. We're going to change all of those. So we're going to highlight everything right down to the end, all 5 of those badges, and we're going to hit the delete key. And that will take away all those pictures. And what we're going to do now is embed a video in there from YouTube. So let's go to YouTube. Make sure you have permission to do this before you go. But I'm going to go to youtube.com, and I've done a search for how to play the guitar. And I've chosen the awesome Marty Schwartz, who's a brilliant guitar teacher. If you are learning the guitar, I highly recommend him. And he's got a video on your very first guitar lesson. And it pretty much mirrors what I've put in my list. So here we go, here he is. So he's going to teach you some stuff about the guitar, which is great. So we want to put this on our website. So in order to do that, the easiest way on YouTube's really good at this, but the easiest way to do it is to click on the share button, big button down here, share. And it comes up with this, which is just a link and all your social media sharing and everything else. We want this one, embed, because we're going to embed this video into our website. Click embed, shows you what it's going to look like, shows you this code and some other options. We can leave it all default, that's fine. What we need is this part. So if you just click once, it'll highlight it all. Click copy. You'll see it says copy to the clipboard. Let's go back over to our page. And under H2, we're just going to paste it in there. And you'll see, hopefully, and there we go. Marty Schwartz has appeared on my website. What we need to do now is make him fit in his box. So let's have a look at our iframe tag. You'll see inside iframes, which you don't need to worry about, internet frame is like putting a picture frame inside another picture. So we're embedding that picture inside our picture, inside our website rather. So let's have a look at our iframe tag. Width is 560. Now that's in pixels. So that's a bit big for our little website here. So we're going to change that to be maybe, I don't know, 260? Oh, not 2,600, 260. There we go. That's a little narrow. So you can see it's not as wide as we can get away with. So let's try 280. Still too narrow. Let's do 320. Yeah, 320. Perfect. And our height, I happen to know 320 is about 240, but you can experiment here. Make it look good. A little bit of bar at the top and bottom. That's okay. I might take that down to 200. Yeah, maybe even go into 180. Keep it nice and widescreen. Experiment, see what looks good. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And then when we press play over here, there he is, playing his video in our website, which is great. So we've got YouTube embedded in our website now. We can also use the same thing here to put in some images. So we can put in an image down here. So we'll put in IMG like we did before. Source equals, and class equals, and we'll put in photo underscore 2, I think it was. Should we check our CSS? Photo, no underscore, just photo 2 here, look, photo 2. And we'll close that image tag. And I'm going to put in here source, and let's go back to our Scouts website, and we'll get, was the entertainer badge, I think. Entertainer. We'll get the entertainer badge image like we did before. It's a good excuse to practice what you did last time. Put that in the source, paste it in there. Now we've got our huge entertainer badge with class photo 2. And we're going to go back to our style sheet, look at photo 2, maximum width, and we're going to put maximum width in there as 320 pixels. So it's a big badge that goes right across our box. What we're going to do is going to make a link that goes to this new page and back from page 2 to the index. So let's go back to our index tab over here. Okay, so in order to make our link between the pages, we're going to put in a thing called an A tag, which is a link, basically. So in order to do that, we're going to put it inside a new paragraph. So type open and close paragraph. It'll close the paragraph for you. You can press enter to make it nice and neat. And we're going to open another chevron bracket, A, href, and that's going to be our reference. So that's the page we're going to go to, equals, open up your speech marks and type the name of the page. So in this case, we're going to page page2.html. Now, close that chevron and it'll complete that A tag for you. Now, whatever we type in now is going to be the text that's going to be a link. So, my lesson on how to play the guitar. And you can see on the right hand side here, it's now put that in a new pad, so we've got a paragraph, so we've got a good space. And it's blue because it's a link and it's underlined. And you can see if we click it, it goes to page 2, which we've made, which is awesome. That's exactly what we want. Now, in order to go back, we do exactly the same thing. So let's practice it again. Go to page 2. We're going to go same place under the ordered list, space, carriage return, open up the paragraph, open up chevron brackets A, href equals, open up speech marks, and then we're going to put index.html, because if you look up here, that's what that first page is called. Close those those speech marks, close those brackets, and go back home, or whatever you want to say. That'll take you back to the first page. Okay, so now if I click that, it goes back to the beginning. I click that, it goes to the how to play guitar page, and round we go. So now not only have you created a website with 2 pages, you've styled it with CSS, you've also added some navigation, and you've basically now got the beginning of being able to create any website you like with any number of pages. Congratulations. Now that you've managed to make your own website and you've got your navigation and your pages going, you can keep this as your own website. You can keep adding to it as you earn new badges. You can keep adding your activities to it, or even whole new pages for any other ventures you might have. Make it your own. Try different things, try different colors. Don't be afraid to experiment. It doesn't matter if you break it. It's just for learning. It's not like hundreds of thousands of people are looking at it. Of course, if you want to share it, you can do. You can share it using the share link in here. So if I press share, I can send a link or send an email, and you can share your Trinket code and your website with your friends or your family, and show them what an awesome web developer you are. Good luck, have fun. Don't take it too seriously. Enjoy learning.